The black pill has become almost a mainstream topic, almost a mainstream thing, and very popular at this point. And honestly, if you don't know what it is, that's actually really good, and you should probably click off this video right now so as not to spoil your brain. But in all seriousness, it's part of a kind of array of the quote-unquote pills, they call it. You've got the blue pill, the red pill, and the black pill, and each are just kind of a different way to think about life or a different concept or ideology about life, relationships, and more. And when you look at the black pill, some of the, methodology of it, some of the ideology of it, without encapturing the whole thing or to the perfect definition of everybody's knowledge book, but my, definition would be that the black pill basically encaptures that your life is really determined for the most part by your looks and stuff like that, your relationships, your dating life, things like your career opportunities and your life opportunities. A lot of it comes down to your looks, your genetics, how people treat you in life, and it's a pretty almost hard way to think about life, a difficult way to think about life. And to some degree, the truth hurts, and to some degree, there is a lot of truth in that. And it is depressing how much it matters. In fact, one way I've related it to my own life, and I've mentioned this on other videos, but I've lost over 125 pounds, been keeping that off. So as you can see, it was a much different life before and after, and it is a complete 180 as far as how I'm treated in life by both men and women, my dating prospects, everything like that. It's completely crazy how things have flipped, and that's kind of even a story for another time. But you can also see stuff like if you're, I follow sports a lot. I am a sports broadcaster, so people always say, hey, you can't teach this physical ability. You can't teach somebody to be 7 feet tall. That you are born with that. You can't teach somebody how to be that, but that's important because if you're 7 feet and you're trying to play center as a professional in basketball, you have quite the leg up on the person who's 6'2". There's never been a 6'2" center in the NBA as far as I'm concerned, so I don't see that happening really soon. That means you got to kind of have the prerequisite of being born 7 feet tall to get there, or a similar height. You got to be basically just blessed with that genetic gift. But there's a big hole in the black pill ideology, in my opinion, and that is where I really get lost on following that idea. And that hole is within the sentiment, whereas you see a lot of people following the black pill, they believe they are part of the unlucky few that was just picked to not really have success in life, right? Just born to be a loser and everything like that. And you do feel bad, but then the counter side of that is kind of everybody, or kind of the masses, are mostly in the same bone, aren't they? And so I don't know what they're talking about to where they're all part of the unlucky crowd, I guess. And what I mean by that is, they constantly point to, let's say in the dating life, well, the Chads are having all the success. And when you say that, you're talking about like the top 10% of men, and there's this uneven distribution. So again, they believe they're the unpicked few that were unlucky to not move on and just destined for a life of being a loser. But the problem with that is it seems like 90% of the other people, again, assuming everything I just said was true about the uneven distribution of success, it seems like everybody else is also in the same boat as you for the most part. And then what are you really complaining about? Because everybody else is dealing with the same thing, but you don't see everybody else following that black pill sort of a doomeristic, if you will, ideology that it's completely over. And to second that, there are just a few people, and this is where the black pill tries to point out, that are just so unlucky with their genetics and stuff like that it's going to be extremely hard for them to succeed in life. So for example, if you're born with a serious birth defect or something, or you were born with a serious learning disability that's seriously making it difficult for you in the classroom, like that's really, it sucks. And that is a part of life, and that is part of the black pill you can definitely sort of agree with, to where they do get some things right. I'm not saying they actually get everything wrong. I think the black pill gets some stuff right. There are some harsh realities of life, and for those people, it's very unfortunate, going to be very hard to succeed. But the problem with, kind of just giving up and following that ideology is you're pretty much just as likely to be a part of that group, which is probably a small 10% or less of the population, as you are to be one of those that are succeeding in that upper 10%. So for the most part, again, we're talking about this 80%, and that includes a lot of the people complaining, kind of giving up on life, kind of just succeeding, that nothing matters. They shouldn't even bother trying because they're picked to be a loser. They're probably not in that group. They can probably jump to either side depending on how well they really do, and that's where your effort comes in, and just playing the cards to the best of your ability in terms of what you were dealt, and trying to play the best hand you can. But again, the black pill kind of opens up a door to say, well, I can just blame it on this and let me stop trying in life. And another thing about the black pill I don't like is how sometimes this is where it's hard to feel bad for those that, you can tell they've got a tough road ahead. They've got a weak hand of cards, right? Well, sometimes it seems like a lot of them are trying to bring other people down all at the same time or bring them down with you. I mean, I've seen a lot of people that they'll comment something just gross or nasty like, oh, it's over for you, you're coping, just forget about it. And you always try to bring people down with them, and it's like they want to see people fail. And this is not everybody, let's be very clear, but there are a number of those, and you can go find the comments, the discussions of people just almost they're trying to drag people down with them, and that's very harsh and rotten to see, and it's not great, and I really don't love that discussion being had. And then with the black pill, when somebody does finally succeed in something, they always try to be like, well, it's all conditional, and like, say for example, she's only with him because he's bringing this to the table, she's only with him because he's providing, it'll never be this true thing, or hey, he only got that position because of this, he knew this person, X, Y, and Z, and it's like, yeah, no. It's like that for most people, and that's just the way that it's always kind of been, unless you are, again, extremely blessed, but that's literally, we're talking about a few percentage points of people, and so everybody can basically point up and say, yeah, they got fortunate, but for me, I'm going to have to be providing something, going to have to really be contributing and bringing something to the table, so I really don't understand that part of the argument to where you try to tear things down when there is something that can refute the argument. But those are just some of my thoughts and opinions on the black pill. And again, there are some things that it definitely gets right. I'm not saying there aren't arguments within it that are, to my opinion, correct. However, I think there is a big hole in the thing, and there's really a good reason if you're trying to have a somewhat fulfilling life not to follow that ideology, as it can probably take you to a pretty dark place. But go ahead, if you guys are enjoying it, follow me on social media. I can also point you to my sports and weight loss channel. Both are in the description below, as are the links to the social media. So be sure to check that out if you're interested, and definitely stay tuned for more videos because we have those on the horizon. Thanks for watching today.